So we're back and we're in the hallway because we want to now do some transferring. And the gantry hoist could not get into the other room because it was too high for the ceiling. So yeah, we're all in the corridor here. So yeah, please apologies for it being a bit cramped and stuff, but it probably gives more of a realistic setting, I guess. Not that it'd been a corridor, but still. So we're back from before the break. Kerry's still in the same position. She's been like that the whole 35 minutes that whilst we've been eating lunch. So we're going to look into accommodating this position in seating. We are moving things slightly a bit faster than we wanted to because we've still obviously got another session that we want to address about mobilisation and hospital discharge. So what we're going to do is look into put a sling into to Kerry in this position, get her into a position, and how to transfer her into the chair to obviously give her a better position in that way. And yeah, so I'll pass it. We want somebody to have a look at the type of sling that we need, and then I can sort that out. So is anybody that wants to talk about sling style or shape, or what sort of sling would you use? And I'll dig one out and we'll look at slings.
Well, we've already done a really good individual risk assessment on you anyway, haven't we? Because you've got contractures, you're very frail with dementia. I would look at providing a sling that was very supportive. So if we were looking at nursing you, if you were being nursed in bed and not using a commode, I'd probably go for something like a comfort recline, which is an in situ sling that doesn't have a commode aperture, which reduces the pressure care. So yeah, I'd probably go for a comfort recline for you to give you the maximum amount of support and to make you feel secure and safe while you're being moved. Yeah, it's got a aperture, that one, hasn't it? Yeah, but it's but yeah, you haven't got one. Yeah, if you haven't.
No, it might not be.
I mean, if not a universal sling, yeah. If not, I mean, ideally, I would probably go for something that didn't have the commode, especially if you're going to be sitting out for a number of hours.
Yeah, if they're going to be sitting on the sling as well, we're not going to transfer.
Yeah, you're not going onto the commode. You don't need an aperture.
Yeah, I thought you were a nice clean one.
Thank you.
I'm good like that.
That's a universal.
Do you want to take this, and if some people want to position it for me?
Do you want me to do it?
Oh, we've got one each. Are you doing it with you?
Yeah,
Oh, Dave, you're going to...
I don't mind.
Whatever.
well, why don't you just pop it on your, and you can both talk at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll get in your tutu and just pass you the stuff.
Okay.
Just want to know if you can hear.
I'm happy to help you.
Yes.
You can't. Can you hear me now? Right, talk a little bit. So just to mention on the sling side of things as well, from a point of where we're transferring, and obviously with the risk assessment, if we want to try and keep, if they've got somebody with a heavy lean, because we've not actually got Kerry up yet, so we don't know if she leans heavily to one side, but this kind of sling might.
Yeah, that's a nice sling
as well. Yeah. And then obviously you've got the back spines in.
Yeah, that's nice and soft actually, because this feels a bit rigid, and when you're trying to fit that under you, it's a bit more rigid than what I would like for somebody with your frailty, perceived frailty.
I think we should take the spines out one.
Yeah.
Right? That's not going to be comfortable. Is this the slings used?
Sorry.
We because we're trying to standardise and not have so many different slings that, and I'm not being rude to our nurses, they are really, really good and fantastic at what they do, but sometimes we overthink something. It's a bit like having too many different slide sheets. Which one do I use? Where do I fit it? Does it fit properly? So we use this as our standard sling for our average Joe Bloggs patient, meaning that's across the board. It's disposable.
It's a disposable, right?
And the nice thing about the bag that it was sealed in, it means you can measure it in the bag. So if it's the wrong size, you haven't taken it out of the bag, made it all dirty, then you've got to get rid of it. So it's measured all with the bag. Yep, so it's a disposable one with a bit of padding, where before we've never had that. So we're trying to make it, and we've actually got different loopholes, which is really good. So we can get more sitting if we needed to, or more recline if we need to.
And do you use multi-use in it or not?
Yes. So if for my physios and my OTs who need more specialist sling under their assessments, we then work with them. We've only just started to work with them, hence going forward. What is actually needed for the particular patients. So for argument's sake, amputees, they might need a deluxe, they might need one like you've just said, it might be our frailty. So we need to be listening to them and go, right, okay, for this area, we need to get this, and then we need to put risk assessments and competencies in place for that area so they know how to use it.
It would be good to hear from obviously physical. It would be good to hear from physical attendees and online whether they feel that a workshop around slings and fittings would be a good idea around for the one in April, because we obviously want to get content together and things that people struggle with. And I just know personally from a point of course, they're quite a low cost product in theory from a distribution market. The cost of going out and doing multiple assessments for a product that's like, say, £50 to £60, it's not financially beneficial for the companies. Now, a lot of companies don't go out and do individual sling assessments. They might do it as a mass. So potentially looking at the reasons why we'd fit certain slings and the way that they're fitted, and going through a different range of slings and working out what works for different scenarios might be quite a good idea for a workshop as well. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on that, but is anyone responding from that point, Kat?
Yes.
We'll let you guys do the thing and stuff.
Okay, so what side do you want to work from? This side, that side. Okay, everyone's got their own ways of fitting slings and their own techniques, haven't they? Yes, please. And also, I was going to say that's in the way.
It is a little bit. It's just a little bit snug. So attendance mass.
I might have to move the bed over a little bit.
Bed over that way, yeah.
Doing my environmental risk assessment.
Can we take the bed off that side so I can move the bed across? If we're usually moving the bed, you would put the bed sides up, wouldn't you? Is that true or not?
Yeah, I mean, say bed size, we would.
I know it's fine, we just carry it, but if we had a client,
yes.
we need to.
Yeah, well, they would normally be up because we wouldn't have started our intervention yet. We'd have just moved the bed, hopefully, and hadn't got that.
Do you want to use any wedges to help support when you put this?
No, the only thing is that we could have a discussion about is moving contracted legs in position and and how much you can tolerate, really.
Bring it up this way.
So here you go.
Can I just say as well about the hoist itself, where we're using a gantry? I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to get a bit close to you here. Sorry, I nearly ate your arm earlier on. The reason we've got a gantry here, obviously, is what we're trying to do in an acute trust. We're all familiar with the mobile hoists. Mobile hoists are not practical. I think they're starting to have their day. They're okay for a fallen patient in a corridor, but they're not really good for one in an acute sector. Most of you will know the space is a nightmare. So backwards and forwards with a chair in the way in the unit. Gantry hoists we use a lot for our bariatric patients. So what we should be looking at doing is any new build, any new properties, any patients with discharges that actually need these bits of equipment. They're so easy to fit now, so light framed, that we should be looking at ceiling tracks for an acute sector and not mobile hoists. And we should be looking at designing properties in new build from beginning that have actually got structures that you could put this into later on in life as we get older.
Absolutely, yeah.
And not low ceilings like the room we were just in.
Well, not unless, of course, it's actually built, because you can get things, you can get systems now where it's all built in.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I just went from the gantry point.
No.
Need to come up a bit higher.
We do.
Normally come to hip height.
Get ones now that go from room to room as well, can't we? So they can change.
This is where we get a chance to practice with your lovely slide sheet.
I mean, for me, what we've got is probably a different scenario because we are on a bed system. Yeah.
We would utilise it
So if we want to use it, I'll do it as I'm utilising the bed system. Yeah. And Kerry's in that, as you can see, Kerry's in that fetal position. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, that's how we would have turned Kerry.
Yeah.
To fit a sling.
Yeah.
So she's making it easy for us, isn't she?
Absolutely, yeah. They just got to roll a little bit the other way.
Yeah. So the first thing I do is bring the sheet over.
So if we're going to utilise the system, we get Charlie over to do hand controls and things like that.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. What I was thinking about, Dave, is maybe to just bring, sorry, her name's escaping me. Kerry, just over to you a couple of inches,
I can do
because
that, yeah.
when we roll you back to fit the sling the other side, we need a bit more space this side.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm going to take the sheet this side and
I'm ready, steady, slide. Yeah.
okay.
So what if I was going to, what technique I would use with this system, certainly with Kerry's condition, is that if I put the sling in as you normally think, with on top of the four-way sheet, like that, yeah. Don't go the full thing.
No, no, I'm just going to line it up.
Yeah. Excuse me. Then obviously we've got the sheet to turn Kerry back. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I've got the agitation of bringing the sling through this end.
Yep.
Yeah. Everyone with me on that one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we fit the sling there. We roll Kelly. Kelly goes back onto that half of the sling that we prepared. Yeah. But then we've got to get that other half back through.
Yeah.
So we've got the bed system. So what I'm going to do in this scenario to keep that irritation and any agitation is use the sheet.
Yeah.
So if we take the sling away and we bring the sheet
you're going to put the
over,
sling.
yeah. And then we're going to fit the sling on top of the base sheet against the satin sheet.
See, I tend to fold the sling in half.
Yeah.
And then I take the top half of the sling and just line it up along the middle of the back. And then fold and tuck into the mattress.
Yeah. This will make it easier now because we're in between two satin material.
Yeah, it's sliding really well. Just got to watch that ankle there. I'll try and get in under the pillow. It's very slippery. Can you feel anything, Kerry, in terms of tucking in at all? I'm just trying to tuck into the mattress. How's
Only
it?
slightly.
Only slightly.
And if I wanted to just assist that, I could just do a little turn.
Just do a little bit more tucking. I'm trying. If you're going to go onto the commode, it's just handy to leave that commode aperture a little bit as well. Okay, we'll go with that, shall we? Let's just look. Yeah. Okay.
You would have done exactly the same thing if Kerry had been on her back, and we'd used the hoist to do this turn. Yeah, we were going to got Kerry in this position. We would have done exactly the same.
Yeah.
The fact that she's in that position already is saving us a turn.
Yeah.
If we're ever folding slings and we're doing that fold, if you think of a hand's width, a hand width.
Yeah.
If you put a hand to someone's back to the other side of the spine, it's usually about a hand's width. So when you're folding a sling, you use your hand to gauge that fold line. When you fold, and it's a good guide to use because it's usually half a person's back.
Yeah.
So we've got it in position there. So we know that you're happy with that.
The
shoulders.
Yeah, I'm trying to line it up central down the spine. It's a little bit. Well, that's why I tend to fold the sling in half, because you can actually then line it up and then wrap that over. You can kind of wrap it up in half. You might have to do a little bit of jiggery. We'll have a go with this. Okay. Fingers crossed.
And obviously this is going to be now with this being loose, then I could use I've lost my little glove. Yeah,
I don't know where my glove.
see this quite a lot this afternoon, haven't we?
Yeah.
Or today. Yeah, yeah. I could use my little glove, and I
can
could
bring
go.
that.
I could go down, and then grabbing the sling. Just bring that round onto the glove, and just bring that through. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit low. Okay.
You happy with that?
Yeah, it's just a little bit low. Just
Okay.
a little bit low.
Let me bring it up.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so then. Gonna go and bring back onto her back.
Yeah, this is where I need to find that out to work the gantry.
Ah, we're going to use the hoist to roll her
Please,
back.
yeah, yeah. You familiar with this one?
Yeah.
I'm not.
Just don't pull the red cord.
Yeah, I know that much. Yeah.
You're not allowed to tie it to your shirt.
No.
Start swinging on it. You can take it out.
You're right there, Kerry.
Yeah. And then it's just up and down.
Up and down, perfect. Thank you. You're looking worried, Kerry.
Yeah, I think we're doing what we're doing.
All right. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm attaching the top loop to the spreader bar hook. Roll that up so you can see it. So it's on there. Now, if I follow I think I mentioned this before about spreader bar side on. So I'm just going to follow the spreader bar from the shoulder down to the hip for the next hook. I'm doing this obviously a lot slower. So I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. If you do this every day, you'd be doing it really quick. Yeah. Now, what I want to do now is adjust the pillow.
Yep.
So if I bring the pillow towards you.
Yeah, okay. I'll just mind your head there. I haven't got a glove, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go underneath. How's that feel? Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we go up. Obviously, you're going to be speaking to the person now.
The only thing is with the pillow there is that the sling, Dave, is the head support of the sling is all caught up between the pillow.
You're not pushed it under that one.
And, yeah, but hang on a second, because the pillow is half under the sheet on your side. It's on top of the sheet on your side, but under
Has
on
it gone
mine.
has it gone under the sheet?
It's We'll try, shall we? We'll have a go. Yeah, that's okay. Trial and error.
Leave it like you've got it now.
Yeah.
Now, with the legs being contracted like that as well.
Yeah.
Just wanted to add as well, whilst we're here, so the features I'm just saying, sorry, the features that obviously this bed can do itself. If you needed to put support or roll, the actual bed does that, doesn't it, as well? From that point as well. If that's obviously reducing the need for equipment and stuff as well.
So let us know if you're feeling any discomfort.
Now, I might have to lower the bed because we haven't got the
Height.
the height.
Okay.
Okay.
No pain in your knees? That's good. This is where the sheets got caught up a bit.
How's it looking outside?
Okay, yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
I've got, I can't see you how much sling you've got your side. That's the thing.
I've got quite a bit.
Am I even? Are we even?
I can move on once we're
Okay.
down. Yeah.
You can't visually see. That's the only barrier, isn't it?
How was that? That way, won't it? And then you obviously unhooking the straps. The bed
Okay.
up, back up.
I presume this was a medium sling.
It looks bigger than the medium.
Yes, I know. I didn't check the size. It's a large. I was going to say it looks like large.
Well, if you looked at the, you know, the shoulders,
Yeah,
then
we're quite even, aren't we?
yeah, I've probably got a little
Little bit
more
more.
than you. So if you if we wanted to keep those legs a bit more supported, we could encourage the feet onto the wedge. That'll just keep the
Yeah.
the knee line, you know, that bent position. Yeah, it might be that, you know, the legs come back down a little bit. But the good thing with bent, it's easy to do that turn. But the wedge there keeps that.
Yeah, good idea.
That there.
Okay,
if I was not in the right position on the sling, too much this side, not enough the other. Yeah, if I just took the sheet and just come over this way slightly, as you pull, you'd have to pull your sling
towards
yeah,
you.
no,
No,
the
towards
sling.
me.
The
Sling, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pull the sling
Towards you.
towards you.
Towards me. Okay.
Yeah. And then go. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
we just even up a little bit there.
I've got a lot now. It's a very large sling.
It is a large sling.
Sometimes you don't fall through the aperture.
So we're happy with the sling position.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I can take the glove. Now what we need to do with the sheet, I need to get the sheet up to the hip line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to fold it back on itself. You'll need to use my glove. So you grabbing the edge of the sheet and then come back on itself.
Hang on.
And then once you start.
Hang on a second, because can I not have that leg bit in then? Because it's easy with that, having that leg bit under. Yeah, because that's complicated.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
That's right.
And then what I'm doing is going in with the glove and then pulling the sheet.
Yeah.
Yeah. In with the glove and pulling the sheet. Put the glove on. And then pull the sheet back under itself.
Right, so I put in the glove underneath.
No.
On top.
On top, between the body. Yeah.
Yep.
And then another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming that easy. Let me try the other hand.
And you fold it back on itself. Yeah.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah. You got it.
Okay.
And then leg sections can go through. Put your glove in there.
I'm on the sliding.
Right.
Do you want a glove?
Yeah. Cool. And then just fold the sheet over.
Oh, we're taking the sheet with us then.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
She likes the sheet.
I didn't realise that we're taking the sheet with us.
And then if we're going to hoist, we're going to obviously, I know this doesn't happen all the time, but we profile the backrest up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I might put pressure on the knees though, just got to be mindful.
It's there, I could feel it.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Press my top of my shoulders. I
Yeah.
can feel my punching.
Yeah, you just need to release that shoulder, like so.
That better?
Yeah.
Are you crossing? Hasn't got a dignity. Should we go green?
I'll go long legs.
The longest? It's a large sling though.
We'll try green.
Try green. Feel free to comment if you don't feel we're doing a good job here.
I think the thing I'm going to comment on is like we've all just said about the size of the sling.
Yeah.
How many times does it happen
Yeah.
where people, I know you guys know what you're doing with regards to slings, but how many times does it happen people aren't sure, I don't know if you can hear me, the size of the sling? Yeah. Don't know the size of the sling, so it would be really good to see that you're using a large sling. And sometimes also when our patients are kyphotic, we measure the spine from the coccyx to the shoulders we normally do, but it's bent, so it's not big enough. So therefore patients confined to that sling and it's too small. So
Down with it.
Depending on where we want to transfer to.
Yeah,
Is that's where you put the spines in then usually to keep the head support up, or they normally have a head support? Too big.
yeah.
The spines are somewhere. They were somewhere by the door there by Charlie's bed. But just to mention as well, depending on the leg positioning where we're transferring them to, if we're going into a seat, obviously, I don't know if you've just said about what loop it should be on for a seating position. We want the knees to drop slightly into a low position, but still in a good enough tilt to get the hips back. Also, the amount of people that don't thread the legs through as well, which sounds crazy, but they just end up with their legs splayed and it just becomes a bit of a mess. And we want, I can't recommend enough for somebody that's going to be hoisting someone in training to be hoisted themselves, just to get an understanding of how it feels.
It's quite frightening, actually.
Yeah. Is this the first time you've been hoisted?
First time I've ever been in a hoist
Do we
like
want
this,
to
yeah.
Do you want me to hold it back? Just to, this is obviously not ideal just from the width that we're in. Keep it back so it doesn't hit you in the head. That would be a start. Yeah, I was going to say there's a clip there.
Okay, so we've got the spines here, haven't we? So I've just got to see now whether I can find the insertion on there. Oh, here they are.
Just going to put this back on you, sorry.
Sorry, I've got a good position, am I?
Just put the mic back on you, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Need to try and find a better solution for mine.
Well, yes, I think this is not ideal, really, is it?
No.
We should have found a.
Mine's in.
Yours in, okay. Hang on one second. I'm worried about your hair. That's it. Mine's in. I just don't know if it'll make an awful lot of difference. Right, hang on. Yeah.
Do you want to put this one?
Yeah. We need to.
You got that spine?
You got a spare?
No, I'm great.
Oh, you haven't. I thought you said you put yours in.
No, I said I found my hole.
Oh. Need a hearing aid in today. It's under pressure on camera.
Just to
Come.
mention as well, in case anyone's randomly thinking what this is, that's Sumed's heel pad as well. So
Okay, so we've crossed leg straps and we're on green again. Okay, green loops. And
Could always try the longer one on the legs, couldn't we?
you can do, because it's a really big sling. We'll give it a go.
if it's far too big, then there is that one that obviously
Okay. Okay then.
It'd be interesting to see the shaping as she goes up. Just
Yeah. That's a bit better, isn't it? Still quite laid back for
Take the
chair
bed
though.
down.
Because you're in a real tilting space chair. Yeah. So we could actually get you in the chair if it was tilted right back, and also just checking you're not bottoming out of the sling as well. Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Your head doesn't look.
Right, my head's not comfortable.
No, your head's.
If I do that, I'm comfortable. But if
Yeah.
I couldn't use my head,
It's too.
like.
Yeah, it's too big for you, isn't it?
Just to talk about head supports, I'm going to say some slings actually have purposely built head loops that go on that also attach. This one doesn't, but I know, like with Silverleaf slings, they usually have a loop that you loop on and you can tighten adjustment to keep the head supported as well.
Yeah.
Can I say something as well in the sense of where we were aware that this is the wrong size sling. However, if you look at your patient, she's not going anywhere.
No, she's not.
She's actually secured, and yet we know that a medium sling would have been fine for you looking at her now, probably most of the people looking in now. But that does happen. Now, if this patient didn't have any back supports, that would have made a massive difference because she would have been then, and that would have changed the shape. So it just goes to show, although it's too big, she's quite safe. But it's about the position of the sling and the sports itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
How she feels like, where you feel like
Because
pinching or discomfort anywhere?
It's uncomfortable on your legs.
Yeah,
There.
yeah.
used to it to some extent.
Yeah.
But you're actually really well supported around your leg area, and it's also cupping just above your kneecaps, really. You wouldn't want it much higher than that. Does everyone agree?
Very good
But-
fit. It's a position for a sling that's the wrong side. It's a really good position you've got there.
Yeah, actually, you look really well supported. You look safe.
Snubbed. Yeah, I
Yes.
feel safe.
You feel safe. And I'll just turn you around again so the camera can see from the back. We're not bottoming out. The sling's not too high. If the sling's very large and it's not fitted down low enough, then you'll see the bottom kind of hanging out.
And you probably realise in a lot of care homes, people try and use different slings, don't they? Although they try and issue it for the individual client, you do see people reusing the wrong slings quite a lot. So
Can I just ask a question about the sheet, because it looks very bunched up and big.
I would never leave the sheet
You know
inside
what?
a sling.
I didn't really. It don't make any difference to me.
Yeah, because the pressure care as well. That I don't, yeah,
If
would
where
always.
it's scrunched up, surely that's a bit of a risk to the.
I would
Yeah.
say that depending on the length of the transfer, if we're going to have to reposition it in the chair and it works against the material in the chair, then I can see
I
that
just
being a
take it out once they're
benefit.
in the
We should
chair.
take it out once they're in the chair, but I guess we'll see
Yeah.
what works best.
I think, yeah, regards to the sheet is very soft. Some people do find it more comfortable because they've got more like a slight padding there at the coccyx area. The reason why we use the sheets is to, one, eliminate the touch of the body, you know, two, eliminate the shear of putting the sling in, and the sensations of having a sling fitted.
Because sometimes you can feel it dig in a little bit more.
Yeah,
Depending on what they're wearing. If they're wearing a loose fitted nightie or something.
Yeah, I can say the sheets make no difference to me. I can honestly say that.
It's just if it's creased underneath you, it's an extra layer where moisture and
it's only on
heat
the person's back as well. It's not
Right.
underneath.
Yeah.
They're not sat in it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And obviously we wouldn't be hanging around in a sling for the length of time we have been doing.
No.
We'd be up
Over and
across and
across.
down.
Shall we go?
Can I just add just a tip?
Yes.
Only something I was taught years
Yeah, of
ago, and
course.
it's only through experience. Is you notice when the sling went on, you put the legs on and then you put the shoulder on. For this type of sling, and I'm sure some of you have had it, and I know Sue has. That can you see that we got clips here? Some of these clips ping off. Although you still will be able to use this because gravity is holding this in position. However, if you do the legs first and this second, when you put the person in the chair, if it's lost its clip and the gravity's gone because they're now sat in the chair, the shoulder might pop off, and if they've not got upper bodily strength, they fall to the side. So if you always put shoulders in first, legs in second, if ever you lose the clip, the feet are already securely down and they won't fall anywhere.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't use it when the clip's gone. I just think that's a design thing.
Yeah.
But you can still use it, but do it that way round.
But if you've got the loops, a loop system, a hook system on the spreader bar, then you use the legs first and then the shoulders. Yeah, because I find watching carers in the community, if you put the shoulder hooks on loops on first, then the spreader bars right in the person's face, there's more chance of injury.
So it is about
And
the
it's
system.
about the system. Absolutely, it's a good point. Should we transfer?
Yeah.
Question saying, would it work for a bariatric client, the slide sheets?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could even put an additional slide sheet in with a bariatric patient, so you not only got your in situ systems, if they were that big with a large apron. You're talking about some patients with 7 stone apron.
They hate being hoisted, but I mean, from not in general, can't say all bariatrics hate being hoisted, but any that I've assessed for slings really don't like.
9 times out of 10, I'll hoist a bariatric patient using a repositioning sling, and I use that most of the way and just unattach the legs. They're actually sitting in a wider rather than this between their legs.
So transferring across.
Yep. Okay, I'll come round.
Perfect.
We'll notice we've just had space to go over the arms here. So
Yeah.
We need to probably go into a bit more of a tilt. What was that?
I think that's going to be okay,
I
actually.
think we could put touch more tilt on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've got quite a nice.
It's not
too bad.
The shapes you should be.
Yeah, not too bad actually.
okay.
Now, now for me, when we're hoisting someone down into a chair, the back of the client should always run down the back of the chair. Yeah. So a good place to be is in the middle rather on the knees. You got that, and then lower.
Yeah, I never normally press on the knees.
There you go.
Okay, I haven't got the controls.
I've got the controls.
If there was two of us, sometimes I'd be like that.
So we need to be in the middle of the chair. Are we in the middle?
You can sometimes have somebody stand behind you. Put the brakes on, just so that. Unless you've got the brakes off and you're moving the chair to the client, that's sometimes quite a good.
I find it harder now that the seat's been reclined because you've got to push back more. So I think that's more of a
Yeah.
yeah. But I tend not to do that from a moving and handling
I guess
perspective. See, oh, now you're too far back.
I am because I'm stuck behind the wall. But if I was probably a bit more central,
Yeah,
it'd been a bit better. But
See, I think for me that was more of a moving and handling hazard, having the seat back further, because that meant I had to push
forward.
my client
So you
forward more,
them
so I
back
would
and
bring
then do
this
it,
back up a
then
little bit
tilt
more, because
after.
it was almost a perfect slide down without any effort from me. Yeah, I thought. Yeah,
And
but
then you would
it's a bit
tilt
deep
back-
for you,
tilt
this
the chair
chair.
if needed afterwards, wouldn't you? Everything's too big, Terry.
She needs a chair assessment.
Need a small chair.
Sorry, I'm not doing the. I know, lucky Kerry.
Yeah, lucky me.
Guess why I'm not the
Okay, I'll take those out.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take that waterfall back and pop that. Are we leaving? We're leaving that sheet in for
No,
now.
it's coming out.
Are we
It's
okay?
coming
We're
out,
coming
yeah.
out, are we?
Yeah.
See, I find that hard. I'd never leave the sheet in.
No,
No,
on
I've
this,
never-
on this sheet there, then the sheet will just.
Yeah, that
Well,
was easy.
I know it is. I wouldn't have it any other way.
It didn't it? Yeah, I would have said so, but that was easy.
Trust me.
So we want to take the sling out now.
Stand away from the camera. Sorry.
You don't peek in that sling. That's not on it. Well, is it an in situ sling? It's not.
This is a mesh. I'm not sure. I don't think this is an in situ. It's quite thick. Yeah.
The back might be breathable, so we'd probably have to take the legs out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we usually do like a roll.
Again,
Yeah,
you could
use
use
the
your
glove.
glove. Yeah, you could
Magic
use your
glove.
glove.
Or use your magic
Yeah,
glove. Or just put it through like that, either or, but we'll use your glove as well. I usually roll it out
Yeah.
the way, yeah,
Yeah,
and then pull the thread through.
I'll be on your side.
Do
Too.
that.
Yeah.
Take the string
Yeah.
slightly.
I'm gonna get out.
And then if I had a glove
Yeah.
this side,
It's harder
it'd
getting
be
it
a
back
lot
in.
easier.
It's all right getting it out. It's more difficult getting it back
But now
in.
your t-shirt's
Yeah, my
comfortable, so that's a
t-shirt
good
is
point.
completely up my back.
Yeah. And that's what you've got to assess, I think, is it's okay, isn't it, taking it out, but for a patient, to get that back in will be quite difficult. There'll be a lot of manoeuvring about.
Because like I feel all
See, I would always put a slide sheet on a chair when I'm hoisting, just the back of the chair, when I'm hoisting someone into it, because by doing that, just one, you only want one, because you're not repositioning, you're just taking that out. And so then that actually goes against the slide sheet.
Depending on what materials on the back as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the bones are out, so there's no bones in it, and then it goes against the slide sheet.
I think Sue wants to say something. Well, you won't hear you from there, though, so you're going to have to come over.
Who's got the thing?
You look like you're on a mission, Sue.
Oh, where is Oh, you have. You've got it. I clipped it on your collar.
I was just going to say that when we take the slings out, we do use a slide sheet, like Sharon said, but so take the leg parts back, but then we go around the back behind the slide sheet, and it's like unwrapping a chocolate bar, peeling it, and it doesn't pull the t-shirt up. If you try and take it off like taking a t-shirt off, everything gets rucked up and up around the shoulder blades, or you've got to sit them forward, and then that's going to give you shifting. But if you take it around, you find that that doesn't have that.
The way you didn't pull it out.
Yeah, so you took that leg, you kind of up over the behind the shoulder blade, across the back of around the back of the neck, but because the slide sheet's there, it slides very easily and it doesn't ruck anything up, and it's much easier than trying to just go from two carers from both sides. So I just want to give it
If Jade hadn't noticed, you could have gone off and just left me for the rest of the day
And
with the
up
t-shirt,
around the back.
which happens, doesn't it? You see people, they're sitting there, they've all gone wonky, and their clothes are all where they shouldn't be, and they look really uncomfortable. And then
Just while we're looking at seating, obviously for Kerry's position that she was, for the position that she was replicating, which she's now just miraculously recovered from, because the chair is that fantastic. It's cured you. So we obviously, her knees were a lot tighter and you were hunched over. So I'll let Richard, do you want to pass you over? No, but you'd be fixed like that.
Hand charger back in, so it's charging in the docking sport pot, which is just there.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I'll just put it
just in case someone's watching and she hasn't put the charger back on.
Always put the hand charger back in there.
Just a few things I was thinking from a seating point of view is, first of all, this is a luxury. I think we're always normally dealing with mobile hoists in the community, so it makes life an awful lot easier if we've got this. By and large, we're choosing the advanced chair, which is a portable tilt-in-space chair that doesn't have a riser function, as distinct from this one, because Kerry is being hoisted. So if somebody is transferring themselves or with assistance or with stand aids, then it's going to be this one, but fully hoisted people, portable, it's going to be this one. Now, one of the first things we always look for is the range of movement that you have at the knees and hips. And when they're in the bed there, it's always quite difficult to tell how much range of movement there is, and we haven't always got the luxury of a plinth assessment, so we're often not going to figure out quite what the range of movement is until we're in the hoist and at this point here. Now, with this particular chair, you need about 90 degrees of movement, or to be able to achieve 90 at the knees. So if we could, with Kerry like that, if she was tighter than 90, we may look to do another chair, which some chairs have foot plates that come less than 90, like so. So our care chair, if you're familiar with that. So that would be one of the first things. And here we're probably wanting to go a little bit shorter in the depth now that Kerry's hamstrings have tightened up. Because before, it was a bit deep anyway, but if we shorten the depth a bit, then you get a better position down here. We adjusted the chair roughly to what we thought Kerry was her size. So height, depth, and width are all adjustable on this chair. So you can vary the seat width, the depth, and the height. And then there's different postural accessories we can put in there. But fundamentally, it's about what is the range of movement of the hips and the knees, and making that decision between, is it this chair or that chair.
So that wouldn't have a negative angle leg rest, you're saying? You could
this goes a little bit negative, but not as much as our care chair does, or some other chairs. So really, can you see that it goes a bit negative? Yeah. If somebody is contracted, you tend to find the limitation is actually about the stuff here, rather than the degree to which the leg rest goes back. So if you just release your hamstrings for a moment, you'll get a bit of an idea of what the sensible and more appropriate position is. The foot plate has plantar adjustment on, just to let you know. Sorry.
Sometimes I think when we're doing assessments as well, just from a background in doing seating and stuff, although Kerry was like that, that might just be a response to her being hoisted, and she's gone into a high tone. So then if we've obviously got a physio with us, or somebody that's trained in that way, giving them a bit of guided stretch and getting them into a bit more of an ideal position. So if Kerry, for example, was as she was, just putting a little bit of ease and edge and trying to slowly get that contact with the chair to reduce the time.
In that bed for ages in that position.
But that's a bit, and then what we'll do is we'll try and accommodate that posture that we don't want. So if there is some movement to get that gradual stretch.
I was going to say, it's often the case in care homes that we see exactly that.
But they don't, they just go.
And there's actually more range of movement there than we might initially think.
Right.
I really like as well that we've watched Kerry being moved, and she's got this on, and the whole time you were rubbing your heels as you were being moved. What was that? You wouldn't realise we were doing it as we were moving you. So having something like that on would actually, so all patients that were prone to that were wearing something as simple as that. I know we say slide sheets on the bed when we're putting them in and out, but you can't follow the path with a slide sheet, not unless you're holding it around their feet. So I just think that was it. I was watching your heels the whole time you moved.
Good point. I love those. I like them.
So obviously this sort of chair, you can now move up and down a corridor. It's designed for transporting the user in it. And just a couple of features on this one particularly. The legs come up really high. This often doesn't happen. When you have a foot plate on, it tends to be quite limiting how far you can get your feet up. Now I'm probably going to really tighten your hamstrings up here, but just to give you the idea that you can go that high if you really need to, and you've got quite a lot of tilt as well. The backrest remains manual. Yeah. Yeah, so this can start to manage posture using gravity to help us. The backrest remains manual, the idea being that we don't want to introduce unnecessary shear down the backrest with this type of user. That said, if you do recline, it has got a reduced shear backrest, so it doesn't scrunch you up so much. If you look at Kerry's shoulders, when we come back, they move much less than you might expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably is, isn't it? Yeah, so ultimately your shoulders stay roughly in the same position without that risk of sort of shearing down. So as I said, adjustable width, depth, height, different pressure cushions can go in the seat base. We've put the gentleman from Sumed's cushion in this one, for example. Exactly the same thing can happen in the advanced chair. So you can input whatever cushions you might have into the seat base. I'm just showing you on that one, but exactly the same thing happens here. And then we've got...
Just to add to what Sumed, because see, with that heel sock on as well, just seeing how you're moving that chair, with having something like that on a client, as simple as what it is, it can stop. Yeah. I can 100% see how that'd be really beneficial to stop shear at the heel.
I can see that from the bed. I was watching her heels the whole time.
That's what I mean, that's you wouldn't feel it, because whereas if you didn't have that on, you had no socks on, you probably would feel your skin get stuck to it.
Can I just have a look if it's marking your leg, just for curiosity?
A little bit.
Do you do different sizes, or is it just the same stretch?
Yeah, we do two sizes, 1 to 4 and 5 to 10.
Admittedly, you have got your sock on, so it's probably not helping. But
If you've got foot edema, lower limb edema, that's going to leave some imprints there, isn't it? But it would be harm-free, you presume.
Yes, the clinical testing done in Germany has come up really.
Yeah, okay. So even if you see those imprints, you shouldn't be alarmed. No, okay.
It don't feel like it's pressing in or anything.
Where you wear a sock or that, you get like me. I know when you get changed over the evening, you have trousers in the slimmest of
Yeah, it does. It's like a jelly, isn't it?
It's like a jelly. It's really, really
And there's
soft.
a moisturiser in the bottom, so it's so what they found in the test in Germany is when they originally had it.
So we can't hear you. Sorry, online. Sorry.
There you go.
So originally from the clinical research is when they put the person's first use of the sock on, they check the foot, there's dry skin, and after I think it was 25 days, took the sleeve off, and then they checked the wound, how far it's got healed, and they noticed the skin was moist.
can I be really rude, because I know people online are going to ask this, and because I used to be an ex-cub leader as well, how much would something like that cost? So do they come in pairs or singly?
Yeah, pairs. The NHS costs £76.
So look at that, a cost of a pressure ulcer on the heel.
How much do the air boots cost roughly in comparison? So the ones that normally have the inflation, like the plastic.
The repose, I think they're about £85 now.
I'm going to say they're around
For one, isn't it?
£90 easy as well. Like,
they're bulky. That's quite natural.
Yeah.
I think that if you're trying to correct, I know you probably can't hear, but if you're trying to correct a posture, like a postural issue in the foot as well, when they've got air boots on, you can't get any kind of contact with it at all. So
Well, if you want to mobilise the patient on a standing aid, if they've got the boot on, they wouldn't be able to, stand without losing their balance.
Yeah.
So that would
and within care homes, they always have the inflatable ones.
Needs to go further.
Yeah. No, it's really good.
Oh. I was doing that deliberately. I was doing it deliberately because she's so slim.
I know.
One of the heaviest I've been in my life.
I'm going to force feed her for the next one.
You're on the narrow seat width, if that helps. The last thing I was going to mention is that there are postural options. We've got some postural backrest options in the other room. Matt, just grab the cocoon backrest, so you can Velcro these two lower cushions out and put different options on, like that.
Hunched as well, she would probably be more high-post, so
yeah, so we might want to reduce a little bit of stuffing in the middle pillow. You can undo the stuffing from there and just provide more of a concave, if you like. There are then these external laterals which you can put on, which we tend to do after hoisting if we can. I'll just lift your arm up, Kerry. That's it. So pop them in, and then they can be adjusted up and down, in and out. To be honest, we tend to get most of the results we need out of something like that, rather than external laterals that have their issues. Like somebody's got to remember to put them in and put them in roughly right. And all of that. Exactly, yeah. And we would all, on that respect, would always use 2, because otherwise you tend to get too much force going on to one.
What about a bariatric patient? So someone with a large apron, because that's the difficulty with the bariatric patient. Sometimes they're very bulbous.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we get that quite a bit, and in that case, we often just remove potentially all of the stuffing from the bottom. So we call it a gluteal shelf, and you can then accommodate it. What the temptation sometimes is to do a chair that's that deep, and therefore you've got then nothing for the back and the head to then lean against. So yeah, try and accommodate it by taking foam out rather than doing 2 deep chairs is the theory. Exactly. Then they just tend to lean like that, which is not good. And then this breathing is a difficulty. Yeah. And then what you see they tend to do is raise the chair up a little bit like that to compensate, and then they kind of cling on, and it all goes sideways. So I think, to be honest, that's a potted summary of the seating side of this. What I would say is underlying it all was the fact that we did a really great transfer, to be honest, because a lot of the cases we see, if the transfer is not right, it's not central and it's not back, everything kind of unravels from there. You don't get your lateral support in the right way. You have a sacral sit, the leg rest is all out of whack. So
if you get a poor position in the sling as well, isn't it, and you're leaning too far over to one side in the sling, then you can go in the chair crooked, and you say your pelvis is out of alignment.
I think sling fitting is key, and also the positioning central and back. But you know, life is much easier with these, because in the community we're often wrestling with not enough space and a mobile hoist, and then it's like, do you have to take the foot plate? Because here we don't even take the foot plates off. Mobile hoist, you might, depending on the throat of the hoist, may have to take that off, which is another just additional thing for carers to do. So
you normally find that they've got big shag pile carpets as well.
Yeah, totally, exactly.
Although Richard, they're good. Mobile hoists can go under these chairs sideways, like the care
they
chair.
can. What we try and do is get good point. So they come off in their entirety if you want, but we have which is probably more useful, is we have an armrest that goes like that, 45 degrees, so it just pops across to the side. You can then put your slings in and then tighten up again, because too often we found that we were saying, right, we've got to go wide enough to get slings in, but then it compromises your posture, so that allows you to do both.
Even if taking it off from a point, if you was going to go from side angle.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah.
Because otherwise then you have
that would probably work. Yes, you do. Our first point of attack, if you like, is normally to get the right balance of tilt, so we can go in from the front without having to take the foot plate off all the time. Absolutely. Which, if you can avoid taking that off, it just takes a lot of variables away for caregivers.
I would absolutely love it if I walked on the ward and I saw a patient sitting in the chair.
Yeah, the problem is in a lot of these, I mean, care homes particularly, and wards to some extent, this seating there's no budget for it, basically. It doesn't exist as a general rule. What we do sometimes do is areas where we work in community equipment, we sometimes say, you can have a demo one on the ward, so you can discharge them into the same bit of kit as they had in the home. That's something we do from time to time. But this is a special in Kent, so you may wish to choose somebody else's chair for that.
It's quite a new product.
There's not yet.
Yeah,
not yet. No, absolutely.
We've had a few in Bexley.
So this is for us is, I think, about 15 months old. This in terms of.
And obviously that's during a pandemic where messages haven't been out.
No, I mean it's just where. Yeah, so Kent, it's not on stock. It's just it'll be a special, so this may not be relevant. But in the areas where it is, it does help to get discharges out quicker. They've got the same chair on the ward they can order for community.
But
it's just
the contract chair for Kent for community, obviously for lower levels, are the
those ones there.
And that you can have possible backs for them. So do you do the same for them styles of chairs?
Yeah. So the backrest that Matt showed you is completely interchangeable across the two.
And what I want to ask as well, sorry, do you, because obviously we have bariatric management systems in place. So is your equipment on bariatric management systems for rental? So do you know when most bariatric suppliers go out to chair companies, do you go into those suppliers and rent your equipment, or they rent it on your behalf?
So probably the short answer is no, in the sense that I don't know of anyone that actually rents our bariatric products. Mobilityhire.co.uk, I think they're called, do our beds and some of our chairs, but I don't think they've got a bariatric product on our catalogue, I'm afraid.
I ask because I think it's a fantastic chair.
Yeah, no, should be something we look at. I mean, I was thinking of Arjo, not Arjo, but First Mobility. They do a lot of They obviously tend to be who people think of when it comes to bariatric hire. So, but yeah, something we should look at. But I'm sure coming back to the Wielden, I'm sure they would be happy to put chairs on walls as well. I'm not speaking for them, but I guess they'd be happy to do that. And that's your standard one at this level. Does that make sense?
Right, so has anyone got any questions? Was there anything that was questioned before?
No, just people questioning how well it would work for bariatrics. They're saying they think it would be a whole different board game with a
Exactly. So you're looking at twin motors. So you look at different angles.
I don't know if we can hear you again, Sharon. Okay.
Sharon's really loud. Everyone can hear Sharon. So that woman doesn't stop all day. I'm like hypo kid. We'd probably look at twin motors as well, because you're looking at a different angle of your bariatric patients. So 9 times out of 10, you're looking at a large apron. So you're almost looking at a second person with just that apron with the shape. So if you're hoisting someone off the bed, that's what I'd look at. And you could actually hoist a patient into obviously the bigger chair, but the same way with the twin motor, because they're separated. So it gives you more of a gap between the two. So you're actually almost expanding. Yeah. Yeah. We use twin motors. We used to use twin motors all the time. Yep. Or the repositioning sheet. So as I said, we've used that as well for getting the person in the right position to sit them in the chair. So we have just attach the leg bit to it, but we've got the bottom, the thighs and the back all attached, and good support in their backs as well.
Anything else with that?
Joe says, I like Sharon, can we borrow?
I'm sure she'd be up for
that. Kira was just asking what the red button was for. You can make the chair go into an element of forward tilt, so about 5 degrees of forward tilt. Doesn't turn it into a rise recliner, but some rehab. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just touch it at your peril.
That's why I didn't touch it, because it's red. I thought it might be dangerous.
Yeah. Actually, it is, because, or at least it's a warning, because there's a forward tilt there.
Yeah.
So
Can you lock it out?
you can do, yeah. Yes. Yeah. I was just going to say we have joint visit ability in Kent, if anyone, or anywhere actually, if anyone needs a visit to try them out. So
online, we've got people all over.
Yeah.
And you provide training through the contract, don't you?
Yes, we do. So
training for people that are prescribing chairs.
Yeah, we've got a session in a couple of weeks at NRS actually, where we're looking at the contract chairs in Kent, which is that one and another one. That's a dual motor, and then we have a single motor one as well, and with Denise and I are working on that, and there's 2 sessions. I think it's 2 weeks Friday, I think it is exactly. So yeah, and we've got a couple of OTs who help us with that training as well. So
I think it's something we need to look at within our trust, to look at this if it's something you're using in the community for discharge.
The chairs are very, very versatile, which is why we've chosen them for the catalogue, because they're very modular and they meet pretty much everybody's needs, to be honest. And then that just leaves, you know, the odd specialist case that needs to be looked at that's got slightly different, more complex needs, where we can look at an upgraded chair, you know, when needed. But the level 1 and the level 2 cover pretty much everybody.
I think we can have a chat outside of this meeting, but I'd seriously like to have a chat with my OTs and physios with yourself to look at what they would like, so it meets the needs as well.
Yeah, sure.
Just obviously, because I know time is a bit tight and stuff, I think just that brought you quite nicely on to about like hospital discharge and looking at pieces of kit. So if we can just briefly go, quite briefly, because it'll probably have to be a topic for next time in April, but it's just to kind of go over some key fundamentals from it. So if I pass the mic to you and Sharon, and just want to talk a little bit, you and so sorry to go through a couple of bits and like what you're working on, then obviously get some ideas going forward for April, because obviously I know it's gone on a bit longer than we expected, so I'll pass it over to you. Thank you very much, Richard, as well. Thank you, everyone else.
Okay. Yeah. So talking about hospital discharge, most of you will probably be aware that there
you
isn't
wanna
always
stand?
joined up thinking from an
Because the
acute,
camera's looking at you.
oh, sorry,
You're on that camera there.
from an acute sector to a community. And I think we are very disjointed. I think we've got better, but we are disjointed. So the aim going forward is to start talking to our community teams, start working with our community teams and understand what equipment they use, what we use, to see, you know, all the equipment does the same, from seating to bedding to walking to sliding, whatever the case may be. But what we need to be looking at is the bigger picture of getting it all together so we can mobilise and keep that patient moving. And the sad thing about some of the things that we do in an acute, and I'm not being horrible when I say this, you know, those guys work really, really hard. So I feel like I'm being a bit nasty, but they work their backsides off to get this person moving. They get the person from ITU doing nothing for eight staff moving a patient around down to 2 staff moving a patient around, and then the patient discharged, but then it stops because then we start again with different types of equipment. So then we have to wait for the equipment to come out, and then we have to wait for the training or whatever the case may be. So that's the bit we need to sort out and iron out. And I think that's something we're going to make sure we work towards for April, but also within April as well, we're going to be looking at the bariatric version of all of this, because we've had massive issues at the minute. I'm sure the rest of you out there have had, where our bariatric patients, I do a lot of data because I'm the Datex queen and the data queen for East Kent hospitals. If you've scratched your head, I know how many times you've done it. It's important for data, because if we've got data, then we know what the problems are. And I could tell you alone for our William Harvey Hospital, which is 400 beds, we have had over nearly 480 patients bariatric above 25 stone since April of this year. I could tell you how many has gone through the mortuary, and I could tell you how many of those are completely immobile. Now, we need to keep these patients moving. We need to keep them with dignity. We need to keep them respect, and we need to be helping our physios and OTs to mobilise these patients. So the aim for our April one, so please do get on the course. It's going to be, come along if you can, because, you know, it'd be hands-on. We want to hear your side of it. I want your opinion, because I don't know everything. I'd like to think I do. I don't. And we want your opinion of how we can make it better. So we are aiming to run a lot more of these in this way, and all talking. I'll hand you to Sue and shut up for 5 minutes.
I've got one, but I haven't really got much else to add other than in the mental health sector, we also are finding an increase in patients that exceed the weight of our places of safety bedrooms. So they've got a very low safe working load on the mattress. And so we have been looking for alternatives that will do much comfort and a much bigger range of weight and size. We're looking at how to get people out of the buildings if we have a problem, and we are trying to look at surfaces where people can move themselves more so that they don't lose their muscle mass, and so that when it comes to transfers or discharge, they're in a fit state to do so and then match up with what's available in the community. So
I think it's really, really important that we're all doing the same, and we're trying to work with Sue's team quite a lot, and Maidstone and Medway. I just wanted to say a bit as well, for those of you who see me in this top. This is, as I said earlier on, it's the company that I am. I'm a director of this company, and the reason I've done that is, as you can see, the grey hairs, and I'm getting old. So this is my baby, in the sense which what I'm trying to do as well through RQS, if anyone wants any information around that, is help people with standardisation and documentation and paperwork and policy. So we do a lot of training out there, we're doing a lot of equipment out there, but the paperwork's not matching up. So part of RQS is actually to work with these areas to bring this equipment in, but also make that documentation the same across the board, and make sure at all levels everyone understands it, from the OT, physio, to the discharge, to the nurse on the ward and the carer who's looking after that patient, because we forget about that person. They just get dropped into it to say, right, now you need to move the patient. So we've all got to understand it. So that's what RQS does, and evaluating equipment to make sure it's the right equipment. So if you want any information on that, then you can contact Jade. Thank you.
Also, I just want to touch on, obviously, some of the things we were meant to kind of do today but didn't get around to, because of how it has been really good, like interactive wise with questions and stuff. somebody has just said that they would really love to have a bariatric specific day as well. I'm just thinking that it's going to end up running to be like a week's worth or a month's worth of like workshops if we're not too careful. But we were meant to have obviously a bariatric workshop. The whole idea behind this theory is that we want to create actual scenarios as well and put the theory into practice. So we were looking at potentially doing a workshop around falls for bariatrics and potentially having somebody that I think that you can actually, there's somebody that actually comes out that's a bariatric that offers that sort of training so that it's real. Same for clients for other scenarios. So please give us any, like, the most awkward situation that you've found that you've had, or we want to problem solve, we want to get people together and we want to look into finding new ideas and approaches. That's kind of what we want to do. We came up with this kind of idea originally for our first moving and handling conference that we did, and it was around getting somebody into a semi-assisted prone, and then we thought about what if the client is plus sized, and what about if they are unable to move themselves, and then we obviously collectively come up with an idea of using a air mat, didn't we, and putting them into a prone position for COVID patients. And that was just from a point of coming out filming some training, and it was an idea of using different pieces of equipment from different manufacturers and making them work together for a solution for the client. So that's kind of what we want to look into doing, which we have kind of done today as well with the 4 exhibitors that we've got. Imagine on a massive scale with 20 plus exhibitors, depending on one certain thing, like what kind of solutions you could come up with and try and test as well. So yeah, April we're looking to do multitude of, obviously it's not going to be like loads, I wish there could be, but we'll probably look at potentially 4 to 5 in one day, and then if we get more interest, potentially do it over 2 days, and we'd have 5 each day, for example, in a different workshop for a different scenario. Yeah, so please submit any questions that you have, and if anyone also wants to obviously send questions out to their team, or that if there's anything that they'd like to try and look at replicating or coming up with a solution for, we really want to hear from you as well. If anyone's got any questions in general before we finish at all. No, we will look at doing one around mobilisation because I think it's important. Obviously had the feedback about doing one solely on postural management as well, training around postural management, but I still think that the whole point of it, other things need to be looked at alongside them topics and the implications, if that makes sense. So having an understanding of postural management is great, but unless we're using, as we saw today, like the micro movements from the slide sheets and stuff to accommodate good postures, they go hand in hand with each other, basically. So thanks very much for attending, everyone, and for everyone's input, and I look forward to April and hearing everyone's feedback as well. Is anyone wrote anything, Kat, on there?
No, but they've said thank you, Kat and the team, very useful day, thank you to everybody, really interesting for 2 hours. And
hopefully in the other one, anyone virtual, we can kind of get you to be seen as well, so you can interact, so you feel like you're there. Unfortunately, we've not managed to do that today just because of sound issues, and it's myself and Kat trying to put it together, so we didn't have the same engineers here this time from the OT one. So thanks very much, and hope to see you all soon. Thank you.